I often get asked, so why invest in leadership development? And my answer is always the same. The question is really not why invest in leadership development. The question is rather why invest in people development. And then all of a sudden, people seem to be less apprehensive about the topic. So let's look at our motivation for investing in people first of all. Every organization knows that it has to get more out of its people to stay competitive. So I think none of us would say no to people development. So having established that, it's interesting to see that less motivation is required if people are investing in sort of skills development to improve the way people actually perform. And those investments normally lead to a higher productivity, which leads to higher profits, and hence the organization makes a little bit more money. And therefore, everybody agrees that some investment in people development pays off. Somehow, however, when it comes to leader development, people shy away from that. But if you think carefully about this, every organization has access to the same basic people material. We don't have access privilege to a special institution of some sort. So it is important that we actually try and develop our people more and more to stay competitive. Everybody in the end does that. So where's the next competitive edge? And hence it was really interesting that Gallup, the huge US organization which does a lot of those big polls in the States, some years ago decided to do some research into the area of people productivity and engagement. And they did a massive survey about highly engaged and performing teams in the US initially. And then they came to a very interesting conclusion. They found that high-performing teams actually looked significantly different from lower-performing teams. And when they analyzed the situation, they saw that at the basis of high-performing teams were highly engaged employees. And the interesting thing about the research on highly engaged employees is that they found that highly engaged employees don't play an important role alone in the company. Actually, as a matter of fact, they contribute almost all the profits to the organization. Hence, the interest grew considerably around engaging your employees much better. And here was a startling conclusion. What they found after a lot of further research is that the main cause of highly engaged employees is actually the manager. The manager determines whether an employee will achieve a high level of engagement or not. And they found that so-called world-class managers who produces high engaged employees had two sort of major attributes. They were what they called catalysts, so they could take what is special about each employee and connect that to the purpose and the goals of the company on the one hand, and on the other hand, they could motivate the employees to fearlessly face the future and take whatever challenges the organization would face. Hence, they are seen as alchemists who transform our fear of the unknown into confidence into the future. And that Gallup study and these foundings undisputedly proved that leadership indeed has tangible results. So the question is really not, should one invest in leadership? The question is rather, if you invest, Do you invest in the right leadership development that would result in world-class managers? So it's not a question of why invest in leadership development. It's rather a question of how to develop leaders when you invest in leadership development.